Welcome everybody back to another BOLDcast reaction. Carson.
I'm Lindsay.
And this is One Piece episodes 459 and 460. We are approaching the climax of this saga. Things are getting insane. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say. It's going to be absolutely crazy. And we hope you guys are here for it. Leave a like and subscribe, please, and thank you. Also, check out Patreon to see about getting 2 weeks ahead of Uncut Reactions, 1 week ahead of edited One Piece reactions, as well as all the other stuff we're doing on our main channel. But most of all, we hope you enjoy our reaction to this journey. Let's go. I got those execution sword spear things.
Oh my god. You guys don't have an elevator?
Ooh, South Blue. East Blue.
Look how cute! That's what you think. That guy just did the same thing. He busted out and then went over there and beat them up.
I think we maybe would know more about it if we watched the movie and the episodes. Psychotic nursery rhymes from children.
Kids are like, yeah, Whitebeard's gonna get
ashes, ashes,
please.
they all fall down.
Literally. No one evacuated the cat?
It'll be okay.
I would not want to watch. Like, if it's their, if members of their family are gonna be there just getting slaughtered, like, What now, Garp?
What's this new piece of information?
Look at these gigantic people out in the front. All of these guys are just gonna get slaughtered.
I bet Luffy could take him. Oh boy. Oh god, they're there. Front line.
Just standing. Extra creepy.
And recovered, most importantly. Oh boy. Aokiji Kuzan. Akainu Sakazuki. Kizaru Borsalino.
Like, oh, they're just sitting there too?
If we kill all our enemies, Luffy, will we finally be free? Oh. Oh my god, I'm so stressed out. Okay, now what?
I feel like we can find a way.
Captain Buggy.
Captain Buggy is going to become Emperor Buggy, and he's going to rule everything. Everybody's just like, okay, whatever. Okay, anyone know the secret password to get past the gate?
God, it's really happening. Oh my god, he's already there.
Whitebeard is cutting it real close.
He's got people on the inside, I bet.
That'd be cool.
Just in case. We have 4 executioners. Ooh, that watchtower is looking suspicious.
In a pretty good location if someone was to
Say
wanna do
snipe all these
something.
people.
Yeah.
This is looking awfully familiar, by
Yeah.
the way. Looking almost identical, as well as the hairstyle. I wonder if that conversation with them was just because it's getting closer and Garp is realizing he can't dig him out of this like he has with Luffy, or like we've seen with Luffy. Or if there's something else going on. That watchtower. It's like a center frame watchtower. Who do you think it is? Lock in your guess.
Well, I'm assuming either Dragon, but I think he might say Whitebeard, because, like, what else is he gonna say?
I think it could be, it's either Dragon or Roger.
Yeah, I guess it could
That's
be.
my guess. We talked about that previously.
Yeah. Because he would be old enough, potentially.
Cipher Pole. Ooh. They're zooming in on like the necklace mentioning his mother. Keep that in mind. The boys. And the guy and the other boys. Rouge. What?
What?
What in God's name? How did she do that?
She had the pregnancy fruit.
No shit.
Oh my god.
She gave her life to keep his birthday, like, obscure. I called like 20 things, but I called this.
Yes. Young Garp.
Gold Roger. Interesting. What?
All them.
They're like, that's it? Son of a bitch.
They're all like just putting it in the newspaper right away.
So that was one of many, we've talked for hours at this point about the possibilities.
I feel like we've somehow gone over every single possibility.
That was one of the possibilities.
Yeah.
That was one of the stronger possibilities. But still, at the time, there wasn't enough to know because they kept his mom so under wraps.
Yeah.
But since that last conversation, you know what we learned about? We learned about Ivan. We learned about Ivankov, who has the ability with hormones to do crazy shit with people's bodies. So, and they didn't show Portogas de Rouge's face as like kind of a silhouette. I think this is like an offshoot, but I'll say what I was gonna say first. I think that her keeping him in her womb for that long, like, obscures the fact that it's Roger's kid. So that because they were like looking for Roger's kid. So her doing that, she can lie about like how long he was in the womb for. The only, like, there's a million things in One Piece. There's a million things that like we don't know yet that probably have yet to be revealed. But one thing we know could do that is the hormone fruit.
Yeah.
So
I feel like for that, there's either two options. Either she, like they said, just tapped into her superhuman motherly instincts to protect a child and just kept him in there by sheer willpower. I guess there's three options. She had some kind of power or devil fruit or hockey or some type of thing that she had like supreme control over her body. Or yes, Ivan was able to help her like with certain hormones to either like keep the pregnancy stagnant or like
slow it down, but without killing the child, or it's a risk, or it would take her life. Yeah, that's part of it. Like, because he's done multiple things with Luffy, we've seen, and with Inazuma and himself, Ivan has. So if that's possible, the only wrinkle with that is the fact that Ivan didn't know that Dragon had a kid. Yes. So, and that's kind of like, that was Luffy, and that's wrapped up in all of this. So, this is why I wanted to say all this first, because what I was going to say was maybe Dragon is Portogas de Rouge, but that doesn't make any sense given what we've seen with, if Ivan were to switch Dragon from Rouge to Dragon, then he would know about Dragon having a family. So that doesn't make any sense. But Ace isn't Dragon's kid, so that's like, I think that's a possibility, because the hormone fruit does more than just change people's gender. It does but it does interact with reproductive systems, clearly, and hormones, which is a huge part of, obviously, pregnancy. I was gonna use like reproduction, gestation. Yeah. So I think that's probably pretty likely. There's but it's just likely based on the things that we know. That would be a really perfect fit. But there's no telling that maybe she was just very powerful and she just had the ability to do that based on her own ability. Or there's something else that did that. But that's insane. That's an insane thing to have happened.
Yeah, and it also shows that Ace must have known the entire time.
Of course he did, he must have at least suspected.
Yeah.
If not figured it out himself.
Yeah, because like the whole thing is just like, oh, he hates his dad, and like really cared about his mom, so we assumed that he must have known his mom like as a living person, but no, he just knows the sacrifice that he made for her. And I bet he blames Gold Roger for even getting her pregnant in the first place, and because she wouldn't have had to die to elongate her pregnancy if she wasn't pregnant in the first place, basically. And then I like the thing of Gold Roger being like, oh, Garp, you need to protect my kid, and just like burdening him with that. And then Garp did adopt Ace, which then comes back around to what we talked about before of like Garp seems like the kind of guy that would just adopt a random child or even multiple children that were not related to him in any way.
Based on Kobe and Helmeppo.
Yes.
Yeah. Like as foreshadowing.
Yeah, because before we had thought, like, oh, you know, if they have the same mom, different dad, same dad, there was all these things, and it's...
But in terms of Garp's case, it doesn't actually matter, really, because he just has a big heart like that, and he clearly, and he had some connection to Roger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, what else was I gonna say? Yeah, so some element of the cuck theory has been confirmed on some level, not what we initially stated as the cuck theory, which is that Garp, Roger cucked Garp, and then had Luffy, and then
or had Luffy's parent was the
Luffy's parent was the original thing, yeah. Maybe there's some more of that to be explored with some level of that between Garp and Roger, but I don't think that it's going to be the same. But the idea behind something like that,
Garp raising Roger's child, essentially,
that and somebody in Garp's position being friends with or knowing, being rivals with or something, being like the cop and robber thing with Roger. And then, you know, almost spiting him by raising his kid. That idea behind, like, cucking Roger is basically what Whitebeard has done with Ace.
Yeah.
So you know, we guessed a million things, and then, you know, one of those things was Roger being Ace's either granddad or dad. So, but, you know, we guessed so much that, you know, whatever. But with that sort of vibe of it, we came up with that, like, a lot earlier. But it didn't end up nearly... Well, it ended up nearly what we thought, but not on the same level. Different pieces involved, but the same kind of idea of, you know, taking somebody else's legacy and erasing and overwriting it with your own legacy. That's kind of what Whitebeard was doing as a rival to Roger by finding his son and like taking him in. So, yeah, and I think we mentioned that directly in the last as a possibility with this. The last time we discussed it. So that's cool. And then they're talking about his mom, and he has these so Rouge is red. He has these red pearls. That is definitely going to come up at some point. Somebody else is going to be wearing these, or they're going to be from somewhere, maybe on the sea. Because if they are, I don't know if they are pearls or prayer beads, or what. She has like what kind of a flower was that? Like a magnolia?
I think it was the other way. I don't know, like a hibiscus-y looking flower, kind of.
Because if it was like a sakura flower, then like a cherry blossom flower, then that could connect it to the island of cherry blossoms with Hiraluk. And he was a doctor, and he saw somebody who was really depressed, and the flowers like cured their depression or whatever. Maybe that island, wherever that is, has some sort of like, you know, maybe that'll play into how she was able to keep him in her womb for 20 months. Maybe, you know, just throwing random lines out there. There's, you know, I feel like they're highlighting this flower as just an element of her design, perhaps, but I think it is a detail that is maybe could be used for something later. It doesn't necessarily have to, but this like pinkish reddish flower in her hair. She looks blonde, but we don't 100% know. You know, it could totally change. Usually colors don't change, actually. What changes a lot of times with these silhouettes is like finer details or body shape. Like, we saw Blackbeard and his crew, and they didn't look at all like silhouettes of them. They didn't look at all like what they looked like, because that wasn't the point. Other series do it too, by the way. It's not like it's some picking on this series. Naruto did the same shit with Orochimaru even, and it introduced him like 5 chapters later, and then he looked completely fucking different.
Well, now we also have the interesting thing where we've talked about a million times of One Piece people looking very similar to who they're related to, and how like we've previously talked about, like, oh, you know, like this person must look their parent. We can assume that their other parent looks like this, based off of this.
Good
and you
point.
can see from her silhouette here, she does have a very similar silhouette to Ace. And then with Blackbeard, we can see, okay, I can kind of envision what she might look like given her silhouette. And if I take that as a baseline and put Blackbeard's features on here,
Blackbeard? You mean Roger?
Roger, you were just talking about Blackbeard.
Sorry.
If I put Roger's features on her, then we get Ace, right?
Yeah.
But that still leaves the question of why Ace and Luffy look extremely similar. Like they all
exactly.
They look believably like brothers.
Yeah. Hang on. Yeah.
So here, there's a couple of other things going on here. Luffy's mom could perhaps be her sister.
Yeah. And they're actually cousins. Then.
And they're actually cousins, or it could be her twin sister, and therefore, if it was her identical twin sister, they would technically still be half brothers. Biologically, because twins are like this, have the same
exact same DNA.
Yes, if they were identical twins, which would be kind of crazy.
Yeah, but I don't know. Oda might be the guy to go into some minutia like that. Yeah, genetically speaking, your genetic brothers,
if they were siblings, it would still explain why they looked similar. Or if Roger had a sibling.
It does but you're getting on a good point that like now that we have all this confirmed, it completely fucking changes the relationship. Like, cause if they're, and they I think that they're, it's on purpose. We're supposed to think of it this way because of the flashbacks. Obviously, when Ace is walking up the stairs and he sees him and Luffy as brothers, like they're talking, they've grown up as brothers. They look very similar. They look like brothers, but they might not even be related at all.
Yeah, they might not, but they do look similar. So then it comes into play of do they just look similar as like a red herring to us? Do they look similar just because they look similar, or do they look similar because they are still related in some like more adjacent cousinish way?
You know what might help us figure this out? There's still a possibility that Ivan did change Rouge to Dragon. There's still that possibility. Just because they look entirely different, that means nothing with how that fruit works. The loophole that I can see, like I'm not saying it's likely, but just following this train of thought as to why Luffy and Ace look like, because Luffy, I've said since the beginning, Luffy looking exactly like Roger is not an accident from a narrative perspective, but it might just be from a narrative perspective. It might be from a biological perspective, and how would that work? Let's explore that. So Luffy, to get over the narrative thing first, Luffy looking like Roger and following in his footsteps is because, thematically speaking, if you've watched, say, the example I always go back to is Haikyuu. Hinata always is compared to and wants to be the little giant. He's like a previous guy who was on the same volleyball team who went on to be like a pro player, and he was also short like Hinata, and he also like had similar features, and he's like a spitting image. Like when Hinata comes into contact with the older senior coach Ukai, Hinata's like hitting a quick attack, like he's jumping up about to hit the ball, and then the coach like, whoa, sees him like that. Or same with another perfect example that I've probably mentioned a million times is the fourth Hokage in Naruto, is that like they take a step back from like the obviously it's his dad thing, like obviously it's his dad. Let's take a step back to Kishimoto. Like, this is all part of a grander point that has to do with One Piece, so I'm sorry if I'm talking about Naruto. One Piece people hate when you do that. But just follow me with this logic for a second while I set this up as like a thing. So, take a step back. Naruto wants to be the best ninja. He wants to be Hokage. That's his whole goal. And so he's like following in the footsteps of like the other Hokage that was like the best ever, and he sacrificed himself. He looks like Naruto. He has the frog summon against the nine-tailed fox. So he's like, and then Naruto learns the frog summon. He's like following in his footsteps. It's a thematic thing I'm getting at that sort of establishes it's kind of like a power scaling thing. It's called theming. So it gives us a roadmap of something to compare the main character to. And that's the point of Roger and the One Piece intro sequence from like OP1 that was played like a billion million times. And that whole thing is that what Luffy looks like Roger because he's following Roger's footsteps. That's why he's like, oh, I need a musician, I need a doctor, I need all this. And then one by one, we find all of those people from Roger's crew as we go along. And Luffy is like reminding everybody of Roger and all this type of shit. Anyway, so from a narrative perspective, that's why from a meta perspective, that's why Roger looks like an older Luffy in like that intro cutscene. Obviously, back to the episode, there maybe, again, who knows how likely it is, but just exploring the possibility that he might actually be related to Roger. Because he and Ace look pretty similar, not exactly the same, but similar enough to be brothers. But with what we're just learning here, they're probably not. Well, what if they are? How could that work? We just learned a guy can transform people's gender. The only thing that we saw, because I said the hiccup with Ivan doing that to Dragon, turning from male to female, is that Ivan acted like he didn't know, and didn't act. He seemingly did not know that Dragon had... Yeah. This is a huge walk around for like a very small point, so I'm so sorry, but I want to lay all this out in case people don't watch every discussion. He didn't know, seemingly, that Dragon had a family. So the logic dictates there that Ivan did not transform Dragon from, say, Rouge to Dragon. But that's not necessarily true, because all we would then know for sure is that, Ivan still could have done it, but just gone away and done other things, came back, and then did it, and, just wasn't there for the birth or something. Like maybe Ivan was there to give the hormone to somebody and then... I don't know. Like there's, I know it's thin and I know it's unlikely, but I'm just pausing it as a possibility, because there's plenty of unlikely things, or like, oh, that's really slim that like they would do this but not know this key information. But there's been multiple times where it's like, oh, I feel like they should logic out that these two things are related, or that this person would have gone here and done this before they did, or some, like in One Piece so far, there's been multiple things like that. So anything's possible if it works with the story. I'm not saying it's the most likely thing, but I still think that there might be a possibility, given the visuals that we always go back to between Luffy and Roger, and now we know Ace and Roger are related.
Yes.
Like, maybe it's not just a narrative thing with Luffy following in Roger's footsteps, and he happens to be the brother of Ace. Maybe Rouge is Dragon. Perhaps. I don't think it, again. Yeah. But it would be complicated and it would be weird, but it's not impossible. It's just slim and makes it's probably less likely than it was before we knew this information. But I still think that it is a vague shot in the dark possibility because of just how much they both look like Roger. And with the freckles, but what we can know, say if they're not related, say forget Luffy, say they're not actually blood brothers, they just grew up together, they treat each other as brothers, they think of each other as brothers. We know that this woman probably has freckles. Yeah. Right? Because that's the one difference between Roger and Ace that we can see, other than age, obviously, in the mustache.
And like they're like, if you like her nose, like if you look at her, like the side of her face, she looks very similar to Ace. That like,
Yeah, she has blonde hair. Ace didn't get the blonde hair, but the one main difference, other than that we know for sure, is the freckles. But yeah, so sorry that was like a huge, overly long walk around for that, but I just want to set all that up and make sure that I'm not like stepping over myself or missing anything, or that people don't listen to what I'm saying. So yeah, anyway, so that's long for that. But the one thing that will help us maybe figure all this out is figuring out where these pearls came from. Because they probably belong to her. We don't see her wearing them in that picture, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. We do see this island. I wonder if it's just a random island.
They mentioned the island.
Oh, they did. They did. Yeah. Yeah, that was important too. What was the name of the island? South Blue. Batalira. Or Batalira, let's hear him say it. Batalira, we'll say. Okay,
It's also the fact
South
that was
blue.
in the South Blue.
Which is
obviously
on the opposite...
we started off in
no.
the East Blue.
Which is on the other side of the Grand Line from the South Blue. Not across the world, because it's, The West Blue is south of the North Blue,
So we can
speaking.
assume that potentially Garp later found this child,
100%.
past the suspicion, and then took him to a different part of the world just to, either because he had family there that he knew was, like, also taking care of a child,
Well, that's a connection right there with, possibly Ivan maybe keeping her alive with the hormone fruit, because Garp, Dragon's dad, Dragon knows Ivan, etc. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, something else is yeah, and this also, like, is the with a Luffy as well.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly. It raises so many questions. Because then, so Garp, I guess, went there, found her, took Ace to the East Blue, where they grew up on, I forget the name of the island that Luffy was on.
And what was did the mom have the D name?
Yes. Portogas
Which is
Road.
interesting because we spent like months going on and on and on
hours
about
hours.
how the mom probably had the D name. How does the D transfer? If you marry, can you marry into the D?
Well, it's a name at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I stand behind that, like, that speculation, because it still applies to the Will of D, which we don't know how it works or if it's even actually real. Like, it seems like it is probably, but you don't actually know, I don't know. But I stand by that because it's a fucking name. So, like, there's plenty of, like, stories especially in anime as well, where people take the name of their wife, and he took the name of his mom. But, and so he's still a D guy, but it's because he had a D dad as well. So, like, he could have just as well have not and taken his mom's name.
Yeah.
And then been that way. So does that make it, like, is that how it transfers? Is it only through men? Because if traditionally you take them, so I stand by all that. Traditionally you take your dad's last name, traditionally speaking. But what if you just don't? Or what if your mom has the D, but your dad doesn't? Are you no longer a dude with the D? Because you didn't take your mom's magic name? No, like, so then is it real? We don't know. We just know that there's something about it. We don't know what it's fucking related to.
Like this whole thing of, okay, Gold Roger randomly has a kid while he's on death's door right before he's about to turn himself to get executed. And he happens to pick someone that also has a D name as well, like that's a kind of an interesting... thing.
After he's just learned the fucking secret of the universe or whatever it is with, so...
Like, I guess that's what I'm saying is, like, it
but maybe it wasn't strategic. Maybe it's like they're setting it up like it's so mysterious, but really he just loved her.
That could be a very real possibility. It's just it's...
I still also think that Robin's her kid, too. Or his kid.
I want that Robin is Roger's kid. Like, I feel like that, like, Ace being Roger's kid is very interesting. It's very cool. I still like it. Don't get me wrong. But Robin being Roger's kid is just so, like, something about it. I feel like it was so well set up. So right.
Yeah. It's the poneglyphs.
Yeah.
It's all the knowledge of the old world.
And, like, with her mom and, like, everything about it, I'm just like, I feel it. It felt like it was
such a clear puzzle piece, like, with how she looked and how he looked and when she left and the types of things that were getting thrown around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and who's to say he had only one kid?
Yeah, who's to say? You don't know.
Bro was around sailing all over the entire world for years.
But then, he must not. If he did, he either didn't know about Robin or didn't care because she was a girl. Because I don't know. It's less like what makes it less likely with this knowledge is that in his dying wish he was like, take care of my child, Garp. So if he either had to not know or not care, and I think if he cared enough about Ace, he would care enough about Robin. So I don't fucking know. Maybe not. Maybe this is what deconfirms that. But
Yeah.
it's still. I think it's still possible. Maybe he meant my children. You know. I don't know. It is less likely though.
Yeah. And they're just announcing that to everyone, which is hopefully. I mean, I'm really hoping that we can save Ace, and then it will just be 1,000 times worse for all Marines everywhere. Because I like imagine this, okay? Gold Roger's son is about to be executed. Here's the two options: Gold Roger's son does get executed, it breaks pirate morale again.
Yeah.
If Gold Roger's son is about to get executed and then is saved by a convergence of like 500,000 pirates busting in and killing the world government.
This is Blackbeard's plan.
Pirate morale would never be higher.
Yeah, this is absolutely what Blackbeard is cooking by going to Impel Down.
Yeah.
What he accomplished while he was there is questionable, but
he might still be cooking.
He got Shiryu on his crew, which is a big deal because Shiryu is really strong. And he helped. I guess he helped Luffy get out essentially.
He might also just be like he might be planning to just like blow the whole thing up or like bring it down or so that no one can go there again.
Well, he might be there. He might be gathering like 1,000 of like all those creepy fuckers who were in the basement who like didn't have names but were probably really high level pirates. Yeah, these psychos. Maybe he'll free them, kill the ones that don't listen, and then take the other ones to Marineford to add to just pour gasoline on this fire. That to me is clearly. You know, and he must either know or have put together or something.
I would think that he might know
if he was on Whitebeard's crew.
Yeah, if he was on Whitebeard's crew, he knows that Ace is like, oh, Whitebeard is my father. They have like this whole thing. You'd be like, okay, that's like, I mean, maybe that's normal.
That's
but
enough.
Like, that's enough to just be like.
Without the Roger stuff, that's enough. But maybe he did know about that, and you know he
put two and two together and was like.
Oh, but even without that, I think that's clearly his plan because you're right about. I mean, we said that before, but you're right about it with this new thing as well, that with Roger being connected to it directly. It's like, it's the perfect catalyst for a second Great Pirate era, especially if Whitebeard dies. You know, perfect thing. Whitebeard dies, Ace gets revealed to be Roger's son, is saved, all the fucking Navy and shit gets absolutely dunked on. Yeah. But Whitebeard, like this previous on Roger's level person dies. Ace, Roger's son, lives. Crazy big battle. Ace, world government Roger's on the bottom.
Also Whitebeard's like adopted son, essentially.
This new generation taking hold. You know, that's cinema for Blackbeard, and that's cinema for the world and anyone who wants to stand up to the government. If they could get even just a moral victory here, it's a complete shit show for everybody in power.
And potentially, depending on how things are spun, and like even if Ace did get executed, it could still do the same thing that Roger's execution did. Of like now the Navy's weak. Let's like trample all over them. Even if we lost, we can still win in the long run.
Which I think is what is being foreshadowed. I think that's why they're putting Ace like in the same position. They're revealing this here. I think that for a narrative purpose, it's so that he can die and then follow that same, that same playbook and be like history repeating itself. It's a big loss, and Luffy's been on a string of fucking L's lately. I think that I think that if I had to put money on where the story's going with that, I think that Ace probably isn't gonna make it out. But I think that there are maybe it'll be a Pell situation where it seems like he is going to die and Whitebeard ends up dying instead, or maybe they both do. I don't know, but I think that I think narratively that's kind of what's being set up. But there's been multiple times where that's been set up and they don't follow through. So we'll see how that goes.
Either way, I think things are gonna get pretty crazy, and I feel like this. I really like this a final confirmation.
Yeah.
I mean, things could still not be what they seem. There could be some different things going on, but like this is the first like this is as much confirmation as we're gonna get at this point.
Yeah.
This is like 1,000
This
times.
is the most confirmations we've got since Monkey D. Dragon.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. I like it a lot. I feel like it raises the stakes. It doesn't feel like they're just throwing it in for fun. It feels like it is raising the stakes. It is adding more fuel to the fire. It's adding more, you know, like, if they don't execute him, this could be really, really bad now that everyone knows who he is, kind of thing, you know? Because he was already, everyone knew about Fire Fist Ace before. Like, he was already a well-known pirate. So if you added to that he escaped execution and was Roger's son, like, they're banking a lot on this execution.
Yeah.
And it's gonna probably be pretty crazy.
I think this is going to be a single one. I don't know about you, but I feel like that was a big enough
I think so.
discussion we could do
think
just to
so.
So leave a like, subscribe. We'll see you next time, Carson.
I'm Lindsay.
Bye-bye.